Now that we have seen the associations established in the story of sinful Cain, we should turn to the parallel narrative concerning righteous Seth in Genesis chapter 4, verses 25 and 26. As we have seen, Moses made one significant comment about Seth and his son Enosh. In Genesis chapter 4, verse 26, we read these words, "At that time men began to call on the name of the Lord." Moses mentioned this fact about Seth and his son so that his readers would identify themselves not only with Abel, but also with Seth, Adam's son, who replaced Abel. In the first place, Seth used the divine name Yahweh, and this use of the name Yahweh associated him with Israel. Interestingly enough, the book of Exodus makes it clear that the name Yahweh rose to prominence in the days of Moses. For example, God spoke to Moses in this way in Exodus chapter 3, verse 15. "Say to the Israelites, the Lord," in Hebrew Yahweh, "the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name by which I am to be remembered from generation to generation." Although the biblical record indicates that the name Yahweh was used from the time of Seth, during the time of Moses, this name became the principal name used for God. For this reason, faithful Israelites under Moses' leadership would have associated themselves with righteous Seth. Like him, they also cherished the name Yahweh. In the second place, the Israelites should have associated themselves with Seth through the theme of prayer. This motif also appears in Genesis chapter 4, verse 26, where Moses wrote that Seth's family began to call on the name of the Lord. In the Old Testament, to call on the name of the Lord often meant to cry out for divine help in a time of trouble or need. In this light, we can see that Moses drew a second connection to Israel in his own times. From the rest of the Pentateuch, we learn that in the Exodus from Egypt, Israel called on Yahweh for help during many crises, much like Seth and Enosh had called on him. So we see that Moses designed the narratives about sinful Cain and righteous Seth to form parallels with his contemporary world. He wanted his readers to notice that the Egyptians were like Cain. He also wanted his readers to see that they themselves were like Abel and Seth. With these basic connections in mind, we're in a position to turn to the genealogy of Cain and the genealogy of Seth. As we will see, Moses also shaped these genealogies so that the Israelites would continue to associate the Egyptians with the wicked and themselves with the righteous.